Body shot. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When the adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derrick G and AJ.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. UFC 277 is here, and we have two coveted rematches. Julianna Peña versus Amanda Nunes, number 2. Brandon Moreno versus Kai France, number 2. Both of them for titles. One is for the Women's Bantamweight Championship, and one is for the Men's Interim Flyweight Championship. So, you have to think Davison Deuce de Guerra Figueiredo is getting done a little dirty, right? He's saying, oh, they're going over there, they're fighting for that plastic belt. My belt is the only one that really matters. Now, Brandon Moreno, this is what, title fight number 4 in a row? Kai France finally gets a shot at gold. You have to wonder why they're doing this interim title fight. It's kind of Francis Ngannou-esque in the way that they're playing this situation out, but aside from those title fights, the return of the Black Beast, Derrick Lewis versus Sergei Pavlovich, Alexandre Pantoja versus Alex Perez, and Magomed Ankalaev, the man who I've said has been a dark horse in the light heavyweight division, finally gets his tough test in Anthony Lionheart Smith. A real, listen, he wins this fight. I think that is your key to the title right there, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to talk about all that good stuff, all the prelims. Let me bring in my co-host, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber, AJ, brother. What's happening? We have a decked, stacked, all the acronyms and Anthony, all the words. We have that today, brother. UFC 277 is finally here. I cannot wait. How are you feeling about this?
Oh, Derek, you're right, man. All the words you need to, all those little power words, buzzwords, whatever they call them, man. This is going to be a fun night of fights, man. Like you said, the dark horse is finally getting his time to shine in Magomed Ankalaev, and against a very tough test, man. A very tough test in Anthony Smith. We've been calling him, Anthony Smith, a gangster for years, man. It's time to see how gangster this dude is, because Magomed is also a tough test for him as well, man. There's a lot of fights I'm excited to break down with you, brother, but I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
I mean, fantastic, brother. It's almost fight night, you know what I'm saying? A couple days out, we're here. It's fight week. Anticipation is growing. We have an event in Dallas, Texas, the first one in, I think, like 3 years or so. So I'd like to see when the UFC gets back on the road, they get going again, and we feel a little bit of normalcy that we did a few years ago. Because to be honest, no disrespect, I mean, I live out here in Vegas with the Apex events, right? When you have the high stakes fights in the Apex events, it's starting to turn a little lackluster. Like, I was just rewatching Alex Perez versus Davison Figueiredo, a championship fight at the Apex, and I was like, this does not feel like a title fight, bro. There's nobody here, right? This was the height of COVID, though, and all that good stuff. But listen, man, we're back. We're at it. We're ready to go. The scoreboard is even 0-0, 89 and 50 a pop, my man. We're at like 64% a pop. So we in good standing. But now, it's going to be a little bit of we'll talk about it in a second. I'll talk about all that good stuff in a second. Folks, before we drop any of the, the betting lines, the wagering tips, the TLDR, drop a like, subscribe, share the show with your friend, and do the number one thing that's important right now is give us both a follow on Twitch. Now, I was talking last week, and I was saying, shout out to my boy AJ. He is, how would you say this, streamlined at Santa Fe Bomber on everything. Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, you know what I'm saying? All the things, Santa Fe Bomber. And I said, I'm going to give you guys an update because I don't know when my stream would be back. But guess what? Uncle Dana let me back in. The Twitch people let me back in. And I just did my first stream last night as an affiliate over here on Twitch. So what that means now is you can subscribe, you can give bits, you can help your boy out, we can break some bread, we can do some ads and all that good stuff. So give me a follow on Twitch at TapNapperSnap. But most importantly, my boy AJ has been really active. AJ, talk to the people about what you've been doing specifically because you've been heavy on there, my man. Talk to him.
Man, heavy on it. The whole reason, to be honest with you, Derek, I've been thinking about Twitch for a long time is because I'm already doing the work over here. We're already breaking down all the videos, putting in the hours on the computer. And if I'm not doing that, I'm relaxing, I'm kicking back with the homies, playing some video games. I figure might as well press go live. So that's exactly what you're getting over on my channel, bro. A mixture of fighting, mixture of gaming. Either way, a little bit of inside knowledge on the fights, bad stuff I'm breaking down, stuff you get a little bit on my mind, and then you get to relax, kick back with the homies and play some video games. It is a little more intensive of a video game. I will admit Tarkov can sometimes be a little much, but if you're ever in the chat, you're ever confused on what's going on, just let me know what's going on. I'll break it down for you, just like we do right here on this show, man. Breakdowns, you know how the whole gambit goes, but it's just a lot of fun over on the Twitch, man. Hanging out, chilling with the homies, like I said, and I thoroughly enjoy when the people I know drop in chat, give me a what's up, give me what are you even doing, anything at all. It really does help out a lot, man.
Absolutely. I think the biggest takeaway that you can take from this whole experience, the reason why we're pushing Twitch so hard is because that's when you get to actually interact with us. You know what I'm saying? That's the big key right there. You get to interact one-on-one with us, ask us questions, do all the good stuff. If you have a question about the Bloody Water podcast, yeah, you could definitely drop a comment. We encourage you to drop a comment and we will respond. But if you want to talk to specifically me, you want to talk specifically to AJ, well, that's where you hit us up at, man. It's personalized, it's in-depth, it's all the good stuff. Ads aside, give us a follow, share the show, subscribe on YouTube. We're at like 411 subscribers or something like that. Been a little bit of a slow week in terms of growth. Let's get to 420. That's important. No pun intended. All right, AJ, let's just jump straight into it. Let's talk about the TLDR because I mentioned earlier, I said 89 and 50 a pop. It looks like even no matter what happens, it's probably going to be a wash this week. Why? Because for the first time, and maybe not the first time, but one of the very few times we try to not allow this to happen, but we have the same picks, man, across the board. We have Amanda Nunes getting her belt back. Brandon Moreno, we think he's going to get the job done over here against Kai France for the interim flyweight championship. How can he bet against the Black Beast, especially when he got a Sergei Pavlovich missile of a right hand? But what else do we have to offer? I don't know. We'll talk about that more in a second. Now, this is the real toss-up. Alexandre Pantoja versus Alex Perez. That one I could see going either way, but it looks like we're edging with the veteran. Both of them have a very similar record, but Alexandre Pantoja has been a little more hot as of late. And then lastly, the dark horse of the light heavyweight division, Magomed Ankalaev. We're rocking with him over Anthony Lionheart Smith. And AJ, I gotta ask you, was that probably the toughest pick to make on this entire five fight main card? Was Magomed Ankalaev over Anthony Smith? Even though I'm such a huge fan of him, it's hard to deny the experience, the veteranship of an Anthony Smith who has fought everybody there is to fight, who's fought champions, almost won a championship against John Jones, fell short a few fights back against what's homeboy Rakic. There we go, Anthony Rakic, but then came back with the 3-fight first round knockout streak, or finish streak, I guess I should say. How tough was that for you?
Man, that was definitely the toughest fight, especially because as I was doing this, I was actually streaming this one on Twitch. We were watching all the Anthony Smith fights, and him compared to how Magomed handles his opponents, it's a little more up and down. I get it. Magomed's a little more a little more consistent, if you will. But my man, Alex Smith is an absolute gangster, man. And you give him a little bit of opportunity, this dude's gonna put you to sleep, whether it's by his hands or he submits you. Anthony Smith is a real challenge in there, and this was one of those ones where I was sitting there back and forth for quite a while, thinking like, how is this gonna go? And this is one of those fights I don't really know. It depends on how much Anthony Smith shows up, because we know Magomed's going to be there to actually put the pressure on, fight his normal fight like he has been. But thinking back on it, man, Magomed was had a bunch of first-round finishes. I could actually look it up, but had a bunch of first-round finishes, had a bunch of finishes until his last 3 or 4 fights, fighting the tough opponents, fighting those upper echelon opponents. Now he fights even more of a tough opponent. This one was a tough one to really choose, man, but I'm going with the dark horse either way.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of got to, right? When you're rooting for a dude, you know what I mean? You just think that this dude, Magomed Ankalaev, in his fight against Nikita Krylov, I feel like that was his biggest test, right? And Nikita Krylov is no slouch by any stretch of the imagination. And to kind of be losing that fight come round 3 and then do what you need to do to edge out the victory, I mean, man, it doesn't get better than that. So, folks, we will admit this is a little bit of a chalky week right here. We're basically rolling with all of the favorites on this main card, but sometimes you don't pick somebody just because they're plus money. You pick them because you think they're going to win, and these are the people that we think are going to win. So, long story short, folks, take a good gander, run to your local sports book, because these are the Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks right here. These are not my picks. These are not AJ's picks. These are the consensus picks of this platform that has brought you great value over the last, almost 2 years, maybe more than 2 years. I don't know how long we've been doing this now, but that's where you need to go. Run to your local sports book and then come back, hit us up in the comments and be like, hey man, I made this much money with you. You hit on this pick, X, Y, and Z. And I do want to give you guys a heads up. Also on the Twitch stream, not to double back on there, but on the Twitch is where you can kind of find when we're talking about just chatting on the, talking about the fight, talking about breakdowns. That's where you could find maybe some special parlays that we're into. Maybe some special, over under parlays that we want to string together. Here, very analytical, very professional, very to the point. We have structure, we have segments. On Twitch, we do whatever we want. So that's why we encourage you. Tune in, follow. We'll have some graphics drop down below and all that good stuff. All right. So one last look at it, and then we'll move on to some sleepers. AJ, you ready for some sleepers?
Ready for it.
Let's get it, brother.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention,
you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, my man. So when we're talking about sleepers, you got yourself one hell of a sleeper. However, one half of this matchup has come on short notice. The other man has made quite a mark in his very, very short 13-0 career, but I'm telling you this much, man. People don't want to fight this guy. This dude's a major favorite, and he's arguably one of my favorite prospects coming up right now, so I'm a little salty that you stole this sleeper, but it is okay. AJ, talk to the people. You're talking about Michael Morales versus Adam Fugitt? I don't know, bro. Talk to me.
Yeah, man, Michael Morales, and I believe the announcers, and this was from another promotion, so we'll have to wait till we see John Anik say it, but Fugitt. Could be wrong, I have no idea, but either way, we got two absolute bombers on deck right here, brother. Michael Morales, you guys will all remember the Ecuadorian fighting out of Mexico, almost gets finished in his first fight. Who's it against? It was against... Let me look real quick.
Trevin Giles, brother. Trevin
Giles. Yes, man. Trevin Giles, man. Trevin had him hurt, and then Michael Morales comes back, bombs in the hands. And I'm honestly the same thing. I picked this fight for the same reason, because both of these dudes have absolute bomb in their hands, man. Fugitt, whatever it is, he's long, he's lanky, he fights like a kickboxer. We're gonna see some bombs being thrown, man. Whether this fight gets finished or this fight goes all 3 rounds, I'm expecting some fireworks right here. Either fight of the night, performance tonight, whatever it is. We got two dudes who like to stand in the cage and finish each other out, and you can see it right there, man. The Tapology consensus pick. What about, I'd say maybe 80% of the people here are thinking KO for Michael Morales. It's going to be a fun one. And even on the consensus for Fugitt, the majority of that is also thinking KO. And that's exactly why I'm picking this fight as a sleeper, man. Someone's going to sleep. We're going to see some very exciting matchups right here. I think it's a third fight of the night. Let me make sure. 4th fight of the night. But either way, going to be very, very exciting for us, man. What are your thoughts?
I mean, listen, man, I can't speak any more highly of this matchup right here. I will say it's a little lackluster. The only reason why is because the original opponent for Michael Morales was, let me see if they have it up here. It was Ramiz Brahimaj. That's what I was looking forward to. Brahimaj unfortunately had an injury, had to pull out. And listen, respect, Brahimaj is as game as they come. But then you get this dude coming in, former regional champion, or I guess regional champion coming in to make the UFC debut. Anybody's going to take that opportunity. The thing to take note is that Fugitt is like 10 years older than Michael Morales. So it's like, man, you got to think chip on the shoulder. I'm not going to let this young kid come in and spark me. I mean, but we'll see what happens. So that's going to be a banger of a sleeper right there. And I think I got another banger of a sleeper too. But I think I cheated a little bit, folks. I'm going to be honest with you. I cheated just a tad bit because I picked the it's cheating, but not really. I didn't pick the featured prelim. That's Alex Morono versus Matt Semelsberger, right? The Jedi, the Semi, there we go, whatever. But I picked the one right underneath that has a lot of name value. And if you know anything about either of these fighters, you know that this is going to be a banger alert. And I'm talking about Drew Dober versus Rafael Alves, man. If you know anything about Drew Dober, you know this man is tough as they come. And I think the number one reason to highlight is that look at the man's last 5, right? So you win against Nasrat Haq Perez, you knock him out. You win against Alexandre the Great Hernandez, you knock him out. Then you got 2 bad losses. Islam Makhachev, you get submitted. All right, tough test. He's fighting for the championship. That's okay. Then you get Brad Riddell, you get decision. Things are not looking too good for Drew Dober. Then you fight a man who comes in on short notice, who I'm telling you, this is a dude right here who, let's just say, is the scariest lightweight probably on the planet right now, given the nature of the bombs in his hands and the wrestling abilities. And I'm talking about when he fought, there he is, Terrence McKinney. T-Rex is a problem. He is a man to be reckoned with right now, or maybe not to be reckoned with. But the point is, he got dropped like 2-3 times, man. He was on shaky legs. He was on stilts. He didn't know where he was going. He didn't know where he was in the fight. Next thing you know, he basically let T-Rex punch himself out on Drew Dober's chin and then came back and then finished him, man. Hit him with a clean knee, dropped him, and that was it. So when it comes down to fighting these really fast-paced starters like a Rafael Alves, well, Drew Dober literally just had that in his last fight, which is why I think that we're going to see a war of attrition in this matchup here. Now, AJ, would you agree with me that a war of attrition would favor Drew Dober in this sense as opposed to Rafael Alves? Because Rafael Alves is a dude who comes in and does backflips in the cage, you know what I mean? A dude who is nothing but acrobats and energy and all the fun stuff, right? So when he got that fucking nonstop pace submission victory on Mark Chikasi, that was tight, but look at the fight before that. he fought Damir Ismagulov, and he tried to do the same thing, but got gassed out and then got beat up by the wrestler, the awesome dark horse Damir Ismagulov in the lightweight category right there. So, I mean, more or less, man, Drew Dober is a favorite. He deserves to be a favorite, but Rafael Alves can win this fight. What do you think, man? Do you think that Drew Dober should be a massive favorite? Do you think Alves has like a 50-50 chance? What are you thinking on this sleeper?
No, I think they got it right, man. Drew Dober is the favorite in my opinion, at least, just because what you said before, man. Mm-hmm. That war of attrition, that mental toughness, and anything, he starts getting a little hurt, he just drops down, shoots for a double, shoots for a single, gets a leg, gets a fight too, where he feels most comfortable, and then he can start really working after that. Let the cobwebs clear up a little bit, and then really get to work. Whereas Alves, as exciting as it is, like you said, backflips, all the flash in the world. Woo, that gas pedal is just pumping, man, guzzling down some gas. And that's really where we kind of get into the mix of it all, if you will.
Absolutely. So I cannot guarantee this. Nothing is guaranteed in life, right? But AJ, I do think it's safe to say with these two sleepers, if there isn't a finish in both fights, people are going to be massively disappointed. Like, these are two fun fights that you can catch for free on the prelims. You do not have to pay for them. So I mean, highly recommend. This is why we give sleepers. We highly recommend that you watch these fights. I mean, more or less that's where we can get out of that. So with the sleepers aside, make sure you tune in. We got a bunch of other fun prelim bouts as well, but we'll talk about that in a second. Let's jump straight into the title match, brother. Nunes versus Pena, number 2. Let's get it.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derrick G and AJ.
All right, my man, it's here. The time has arrived, and some would say that if you do not pick for Julianna Peña, you are going to be repenting for your sins once again. The same way where she called everybody out. Peña said, oh, Ryan Clark, you picked for Nunes. I saw that. Don't think I didn't see that, right? Joe Rogan, you picked for Nunes. She called out everybody. She had that memory, which is incredible. When you pull a massive upset like that, it's incredible. But the question is, can she do it twice? You know what I mean? Does lightning strike twice in the same place? Because Amanda Nunes, if you looked at the run that she was on prior to losing to Julianna Peña, it was pretty damn incredible, my man. So I actually want to pull it up really quickly. I'm going to pull it up on SureDog just so we could just take a look and just see some of the damage that the Lioness has done over the years, my man. So you see Amanda Nunes, 21 wins, 5 losses. Okay, that's fair. You look at her UFC record, though, it's a little bit different. 14 wins, 2 losses. Now, you lose to Julianna Peña. You get choked out. Before that, you finish Megan Anderson. You decision Felicia Spencer. Decision GDR. Finish Holly Holm. Finish Cyborg. Finish Rocky Pennington. Split decision win over Shevchenko. Finish Ronda Rousey. Finish Miesha Tate. Another decision win over Shevchenko. Finish Sarah McMahon. I mean, come on, brother. The list goes on and on and on and on. You lost to Kat Zingano back then, and that's the first test that we saw where it's like, oh, Amanda Nunes isn't a great nail. Amazing hammer. But when you're the nail, things can get a little bit rough. But look at this. Only losses are to, some legit people, except the Sarah D'Elio, right? Everybody else. Look at these names. So my whole thing here, AJ, is that sometimes logic is not necessarily going to be the number one reason why you pick a fighter to win, right? Sometimes crazy things can happen. And we saw Julianna Peña fought Amanda Nunes' ego and then ended up gassing her out and choking her out and winning. My question is, if Amanda Nunes does everything that she did in the first round of the first fight in this fight and does not abandon the game plan come round 2, what path to victory does Julianna Peña truly have? Because she lost in the striking and the grappling in the first round. So what paths to victory does Julianna Peña have here?
Well, I think she still has to fight the ego. That's gonna be the biggest thing. Get Amanda Nunes feeling like she is back into that second round of that last fight where she's uncomfortable. She's swinging, getting arms labored, getting all that stuff. Because other than that, man, you're right. That first round, you go back and watch it. It was very not one-sided, but Amanda Nunes was doing what she wanted to do. She was a lioness at that point, and then she came back. She started getting a little smirk going, getting a little happy, thinking, I can play around in here. I can have a little bit of fun. Woo! Then she got a little bit tired. So I think that's going to be the only way, because it's either, in my mind, Julianna Peña has Amanda Nunes' number, or it was an off night. You know what I'm saying? And to me, it seems like it's leading a little bit more of an off night. But don't get me wrong, Julianna Peña might just have that. No, sometimes you're playing one-on-one. You're in a ring, whatever the case may be. Sometimes that guy or girl in this instance has your number, and there's nothing you can do. But it doesn't really seem that way, especially coming off of that first round that we saw in the last fight. So did you see a better path to victory for Peña?
Well, it's just crazy because if you think about how did Peña truly win the fight, AJ? it was striking. She outstruck Amanda Nunes. We're talking about somebody who has 3 knockouts on her resume, right? Nunes has 13 knockouts, 10 more knockouts, right? So she lost in the grappling. Unless she can get Amanda Nunes really tired, close the distance, grapple her up, and then do some... Because if you look at the first round, she was going for Kimura attempts the whole time. She was going for Kimura attempts, and then Nunes was countering with some choke attempts, right? So she was working the grappling early on. It's not like it was completely... You're right. It wasn't completely one-sided where she was doing nothing. But then come round 2, you ditch the Kimura, and then you go straight for the rear naked choke. Boom. So my thing is you still have to attack the grappling. I think that's the path to victory, is the grappling. But can you wet blanket Amanda Nunes? Can you smother her? Can you make her truly uncomfortable on the ground? Because that's where I can see. I don't think this fight is ending in a round or 2, personally. You know what I mean? I think that Amanda Nunes is going to come in a little hesitant. I think that it would not be wise to come in and just be lioness. I'm just going to come in cyborg style and just try to knock you out right hand. Because that's what she did in the first fight and it didn't win. So let's be a little more conservative, have a more well-rounded approach. Take the approach that you took when you fought a Felicia Spencer or when you fought a GDR or something like that. Right? So I definitely think that Amanda Nunes should be the favorite here. But I have to ask you, ego-wise, Julianna Peña has to be fired up, man. She's a betting underdog. If you look at these props, they're giving her almost no chance to win this fight. As the champion, right? As the reigning, defending champion, Julianna Peña comes into this fight. Do you think, hindsight, I mean, we don't know because hindsight hasn't happened yet, but after Saturday night, are we going to be eating our words by picking Amanda Nunes, or do you think truly the same feeling everybody else had after the first fight, if they run it back, Nunes, just like if they fought 10 times, Nunes wins 9 out of 10 times? Is that how you feel, or do you think that Peña really deserves to have more respect in this conversation?
No, I do think Pena deserves to have more respect in this conversation, especially because she's been putting in the work for quite a while. She's been calling out Amanda Nunes for years, saying, you're ducking me, all this stuff. So there's still that fire, man. And when you have that kind of passion and that drive, it makes a lot of sense why she's so motivated to get this fight going again, man. She's even talking shit still in the media, like you said, remembering all the people that bet against her. And it does create some sort of strife. This is the second hardest fight for me to pick, man. This one thinking back and forth the whole entire time. Like Julianna Peña can get things done, man. This fight gets to round 3, round 4, then we start worrying about the gas tank of Nunes, because I think Julianna Peña has a little bit more of a crispness to her, if you will, a little less labored in all the stuff she does. Don't get me wrong, the labor for Amanda Nunes comes because she's dropping absolute bombs on you. But then it kind of, that's where the mix-up happens. Will Julianna Peña be the fresher fighter in round 4 or round 5? We don't really know. I still think it's going to be Nunes just because of the history of what she's produced. But there's still that little bit of me that thinks Julianna Peña is a dog. And obviously the betting underdog, that fires up. That gets you a little bit going. You're saying, dude, I whooped her ass in the second round. I got the fight done. I finished her. I'm one of the few to finish Amanda Nunes, and y'all still doubting me? Yeah, so I think she has a little bit more to offer in this fight coming forward than a lot of people are thinking.
I can definitely see some merit to that statement right there. But let's just also remember Amanda Nunes, right? How many title fights has she been in now? She's used to the pressure, all that good stuff. Last 5 title fights, 2 of those 5 fights have gone to decision in her favor. So when it comes to gas tank, you do have to consider, man, she's fighting out 5-round decisions. I mean, that's not a bad thing right there. So Julianna Peña, you're right. She has to fight the ego if she wants to win the fight. Does this add any sprinkle on top? Julianna Peña, clearly, she wins, right? The tough 30, right? She wins the Ultimate Fighter. She kind of, was mopping the floor with Nunes' team. I don't know how much that means because it's really just a coaching battle. It's not really like me and you getting in there doing it. But if you steal the title from Nunes, right? If you beat her on tough, embarrass her on tough, and then you defend your title, that's talk about a massive downward trajectory, right? Here's the other thing, the last thing before we talk about the actual wagering, all that good stuff about Amanda Nunes that kind of concerned me. She talked about if she wins this fight, she might just retire. She was like, yeah, I'll just see where my head's at after. That's not what you want to hear from somebody who's supposed to have that fire, that flame to be like, I need that title back, right?
Yo, 100%, Derek. That is definitely a pause for concern. And coming from a coach, man, I'll talk about the tough part a little bit. That's almost more upsetting. You know what I'm saying? Because with your athletes, there's a bunch of X's and O's that can happen. There's a bunch of outcomes that can happen, but you smack up every single one of them. It kind of comes back to the coach, kind of comes back to me, kind of comes back to a fact of maybe you might have that number. And I think the biggest thing that kind of scares me in this whole situation for picking Amanda Nunes like you said, she lost her belt. Then she gets smacked up on tough. Going into the third fight, what if that feeling of, and I'm sure you've been there too, Derek, where you're playing, you're fighting, you're doing whatever the case may be. You get that feeling of, oh shit, I've been here before. Oh shit, we're back to this again. Like, oh, and then you start getting in your mental, then you start going, and especially where they're thinking, well, I'm probably going to retire anyway after this. It's it's a little shaky. So I do think it's going to be a very, very fun fight, but there's stuff that can be going back and forth right here.
Yeah, no, you're right, brother. And this is, I mean, it's funny because we could talk about this forever, but we gotta wrap this one up, man. It just comes down to the ego. I think that's really the number one battle. Like, Amanda Nunes needs to fight with her ego because she's already said, I've accomplished everything I want to accomplish in the fight game. I've already been the double champ. What's your why? You don't really have a why if you're like, oh, I'll just retire after, right? So the why has to be ego. I'm about to fucking whoop some ass, man. I can't get disrespected like this. I can't go out on a loss, right? So Julianna Peña needs to fight against Amanda Nunes' ego, but Nunes needs to fight with the ego. It feels counterintuitive, but let's talk props, brother. So clearly, Nunes minus 300 favorite, plus 250 comeback for the champion, Julianna Peña. Now, when we're talking about methods of victory, the most likely, according to the oddsmaker, method of victory for Amanda Nunes is a TKO victory at plus 140. However, for Julianna Peña, it's plus 450 with a submission. So just looking at those ones, right, given that the odds makers are seeing it that way, either Nunes knocks her out or Pena submits her. If it goes down to a decision, why do you think that Pena is plus 550 for the decision? Because I think that might be one of the smarter props. We might not see a finish in this fight, man. So what do you think?
No, I agree with you. That's where I was thinking. We might not see a finish in this one just because of how well these fighters know each other, how much is on the line, all that stuff. It is curious. I mean, maybe it's because Amanda Nunes has fought so many 5-round fights, and I know Pena has been scheduled for a 5, but I don't actually know if she's been all the way to 4 and 5 in the rounds. I'm doing a quick look, man. It seems she's only gotten to 3, so I think that might be it. That the odds makers thinking that she can only, she's only ever gotten to 3. Yeah. Those last 4 and 5, they make a massive difference.
Championship rounds, brother. They call them championship rounds for a reason. And if you've been a champion for a long, long time, you're normally favored in those rounds. So it makes sense. But what are you rocking with, right? I don't really see Amanda Nunes submitting Julianna Peña, even though she is a black belt, right? She has legit jiu-jitsu chops. Decisioning Peña, I can definitely see that in the method of outcomes. I just think that Julianna Peña proved in her last fight that she could handle the bombs of Amanda Nunes, which is probably when you don't let the bully you anymore. When you bully the bully, they fall apart, right? So if Amanda Nunes is like, all right, I'm going to be more conservative, I just see her approach coming in saying, I want the victory more than I want a highlight finish. So if I have to decision her, I'll finish her, but I'm getting my belt back. With that being said, would you rather take the plus 325 decision prop, or would you rock with the minus 300 money line, or is that a little too skewed, you know what I mean, and as a favorite for Nunes? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm rocking with that plus 325 decision line personally, man. That minus 300, don't get me wrong. I see why the odds makers have it there. Just a little, like you said, too skewed for me. So I'm rocking that decision. I do think the Lioness will come down to, and it's one of those ones where she throws big bombs and Julianna Peña just like headbutt in the hands, or, just eating them on the chin. There's nothing, no glimmer of stress at all on her. And then I think Amanda Nunes is gonna be like, all right, let's get this fight to the deep waters. Let's go, bloody some people up and actually make this one a long drawn out contest. And that's really where I see this one finishing.
Yeah, no. And so the over and under is 2.5 rounds, brother. So you'll take the over on that one. And I'm not going to lie to you, even though I really can't see a decision prop here at play, this is a competition still, man. We're already a wash for the money line pick. So I think I'm going to have to spice it up and I'm going to have to take a chance. And I think that I'm going to take that plus 140 TKO. But I'm going to take it for the later rounds. I think that we're seeing like a round 4 TKO right here, brother. I think that you can get that war of attrition going, and Nunes, she does have the power advantage. Let's not forget that, right? So I do think that she'll inevitably be able to kind of get her in a tough spot, finish this fight out, whether it's just a massive right hand that drops her or it's a ground and pound TKO type submission or type situation, excuse me. But I'm taking the over on this one, but I'm going to rock with the TKO for Amanda the Lioness Nunes and new. But just remember, and I have to say this on stream right now, if Julianna Peña wins, we're going to be eating our words. We're going to be eating the most crow that I think we've eaten on the history of this program, because she's not going to let anyone live that one down. So all respect to the current champion, but you have to respect the history of the current featherweight champion and former bantamweight champion, former double champ, former GOAT, still GOAT, but you know what I'm saying. All right, AJ, that's one title fight. Let's get this other title fight out the way. We got the assassin, baby. Number 1 ranked Brandon Moreno versus number 2 ranked Kai Kara France. This feels like a comeuppance for Kai France. This feels much deserved. The man has been, ever since losing to Brandon Moreno, right? You know, this was back in 2019 or something like that. The man has gone on more or less of a run, brother. So let me actually take a quick look at Kai France's his strength of schedule. Let's look at all that good stuff, and let's really just determine, like, how has my man fared thus far? 24-9 in his career, lots of fights. So he lost to Brandon Moreno in 2019, won against Tyson Nam. He dropped that one to Brandon Royval, and Brandon Royval's real spark, his real run when he started in the UFC, and then 3 wins in a row. Rogerio Bontorin, after almost getting finished, you end up finishing him, which was kind of a controversial stoppage, but that's neither here nor there. Now, AJ, I have to be honest with you. This Cody Garbrandt win, I do not give as much stock to this as everybody else does, I think. Yes, Cody Garbrandt is a former champion, but he pulled the TJ Dillashaw, and he moved down weight, compromised chin, gets knocked out. Same thing TJ Dillashaw did when he fought Henry Cejudo. Now, it makes Henry Cejudo even more great because you're like, look, you're just knocking out all these former champions and all that, but it's like, yeah, but he went down weight, and yeah, okay. This is the biggest win right here. Askar Askarov. That decision win, gritting out, because Askarov had the backpack on him. That was the win right there. That really said, okay, this guy's ready. He's ready. Maybe not for a title, but yes, perfect. Interim title shot, yeah, absolutely, right? So let's talk about it, AJ. Assassin baby Brandon Moreno, last 3 fights have been against Davison Deuce de Guerra Figueiredo, right? A draw in the first fight. He submitted him in the second fight, and he lost a very close, controversial decision, which I'm not going to lie to you, I kind of think that Moreno won that fight personally. So you have a dude who's hung in there, toe-to-toe with the baddest man in the flyweight division, toe-to-toe. I'm talking about exchanging, not worried about the power, even seemed to have a little bit of a power advantage, even though he did get dropped in the last fight, but it seemed like he had a little bit of a power advantage and more volume and better jiu-jitsu, more or less, in the second fight. How can Kai France come in here confident saying, oh, he's not going to be able to handle my power, he's not going to be able to do this, when he stood toe-to-toe with Deuce de Guerra, the man who looks like he's 150 pounds come fight night, you know what I mean? Where does Kai France think he's going to be able to get the advantage in this matchup?
Man, I think it has to be the quick, fast combos of Kai France, man. That's to me what kind of does it the most. He throws in it. I was watching this. We were breaking this one down on Twitch again, man. Not to bring it up again, but to bring it up again also. Jab, power right hand across the middle, man. He works it all the time. Whether he throws a feint and then jab, it's always 2 with that hand, man. Boom, boom, comes in. And I think when you see, and the funky thing about Moreno, he does this weird, like, elbows in. You can't really see because the elbows in, hands out. So if he's parrying, and he has that thing, and I think the fast combos and the calculated counter, yeah, it's such a weird thing, but it works for him because he's protecting the body, and you can see the Mexican style of boxing that Moreno has. But to me, what's going to get Kai France in his best situation or best fight situation is those fast combos, that jab, cross, right across, or jab, cross, and then let Moreno come back, and then a calculated counter strike after that, whatever the case may be. In those exchanges, I think that's where Kai France has just a little bit more of an advantage, just because he's a little quicker. I don't think he has a power advantage. Don't really think he has a speed advantage, if you will, but I think he has this quickness advantage that a lot of people are kind of underestimating. What do you think?
I'm with you. I'm definitely with you. But then I also just take a quick trip down memory lane and say, hey, these guys fought not that long ago. And what happened in that first fight? Kai France, did he have the power advantage? Yeah, and I do think it's safe to say that France has more power in terms of if he lands that right hand, he can put anybody to sleep, right, in this flyweight division. But AJ, Brandon Moreno just kind of picked him apart, just kind of outpointed him, you know what I mean? And he did what he needed to do to win a unanimous decision victory, 29-28 times 230, 27 times 1, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm actually going to pull up the UFC stats from that fight just so we can be clear on this, because even though I respect Kai France a ton, man, I do think that he's finally ready for this opportunity. I also think that in that fight, it's just a little tough to sit here and legitimately say, like, I mean, how's it going to be so much different from the first fight? Kai France says he's a completely different fighter, but so is Brandon Moreno. He's fighting all these title fights now. You know what I mean? The whole entire way you look at it is just different. So here's the numbers, brother. I'll pull it up right now. So it looks like Brandon Moreno. So you can see he outstruck Kai France 91-82. That's the other point right there. Even though on ESPN the significant strikes landed per minute favors Kai France, in this last fight, Brandon Moreno was the busier fighter. That's what won him the fight, right? And if you look at Okay, so there it is right there. From distance, Moreno did more work. Didn't really work the legs too much, right? Nah, kind of equal on the body, more of a head hunter. Kai France was a little bit more accurate, but I mean, the numbers speak for themselves right there. And lastly, here, pull this to the side, AJ. So you look at per round. Brandon Moreno gets outstruck in the first round, outstrikes him in the second round, and outstrikes him in the third round. So when it comes down to it, just like, all right, the rounds are adding up. Who's going to be busier? Who's going to do the thing? I mean, it was Brandon Moreno in that matchup. Now, Brandon Moreno, who I think his power translates from his precision, right? He has really good counter striking. If you look at his significant strike accuracy, it's almost 50%, 47% clip, very high. Kai France is not far behind, about 43%. But I think that's where those holes are going to be found. And do you agree with me on that? Kai France might be loading up on a big combo, but Brandon Moreno had a really good job, especially against Davis and Figueiredo, of landing inside of those combos. While you're throwing the combo, that's when he's timing you and then getting back out, right? So do you agree with me there? And do you see any other real path to victory? Because there was no takedowns in the last fight, but I could see some jiu-jitsu happening here. Talk to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And that's the scary thing about Moreno. He has such a high fight IQ, and his timing is basically perfect, man. And for a short guy, I forget how short Brandon Moreno actually is.
5'7", brother.
5'7". So just not even that short. I mean, just a little probably average for the weight class for the flyweights, but man, he fights very, very long. You know, he even has this wide stance that he goes in. His combos are long. His timing is perfect. There's a lot of things Brandon Moreno does right that gives a lot of pause for concern if you're a Kai France fan. Now, the biggest thing I can see coming back, man, is that long stance, leg kicks. Yeah. I think it's going to be leg kick city all day long, man. And we saw even in the last Brandon Moreno fight, he was getting kicked pretty, his leg was getting chewed up. And if Kai France come in there, now the thing though, France, not the biggest leg kicker in the world, not I'm saying, but I do think that coming forward in the Eugene Behrmans, the City Kickboxing, the coaches staff over there, they're going to see that. And I think that's going to be leg kick. I mean, we've seen the leg kick really take over UFC in the last, 2 years or so. I think that's going to be a big thing for Kai France. Where do you see the jiu-jitsu coming into play on this one? Brandon Moreno taking over? What do you think?
Well, let's just take a look back at what Rogerio Bontorin did to Kai France, right? Let's take a look back at what Brandon Royval did to Kai France. How has Kai France lost the most out of all of his methodologies? 4 decision losses, 3 submission losses, 2 knockout losses. If you're Brandon Moreno, you've never been knocked out, you've never been submitted, never been finished. Your only losses have been via decision, right? So it's kind of tough sledding here for Kai France because if history proves anything, you better win a decision against him. It's going to be tough to knock him out. But I think that if Brandon Moreno can threaten things similar to how we're going to talk with Alexandre Pantoja and Alex Perez, if your jiu-jitsu is that good, you're not afraid of being taken down. Kai France, on the other hand, does not want to be on the ground. So it gives that additional element of Brandon Moreno saying, I could push the action because please take me down. So then I could submit you, you know what I mean? So it's going to be really interesting to see how this fight unfolds. But let's not forget, this is a 5-round title fight. Kai France, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, does have 5-round experience. But let's just take a quick look, brother. Let's just go take a quick look. And I'll just pull it up real fast. And let me see. Round 2. I guess you got to see. This is why is the user interface for SureDog is superior to Tapology because it just gives you the information. Okay, Kai France never gone 5 rounds in his MMA career. Never gone 5 rounds. So he's at a disadvantage right there because Brandon Moreno can go 5 rounds and still seem like he's in round 1, round 2, at round 5. These are flyweights after all. Let's talk about without the X's and O's more or less, right? But let's talk about the odds, man. Is Brandon Moreno, should he rightfully be a minus 200 favorite here with that plus 175 comeback for Kai France?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Especially with you fight 3 times for a title and you're not the favorite. I mean, you're just Julianna Peña shoes, really. But no, man, I think he's the favorite for sure.
Okay, so let's look at the most likely outcome for the odds makers once again. A decision in favor of Brandon Moreno is plus 130, man. I mean, that's pretty damn good. Now, if you're looking at Kai France, his decision prop is plus 300, knockout prop is plus 475, and then a submission prop for Brandon Moreno is plus 400. So it looks like either one of these could go to a decision because if you look at Figueiredo, the only fight that ended in a finish was the second one, right? And those are 2 dudes. I mean, you're literally fighting the most powerful dude in the division who's knocking everybody out, right? So do you think Kai France can catch Brandon Moreno slipping, or is this going to be a repeat, just an extended version of their first fight?
I think it's just an extended version because it's crazy that the odds makers are thinking basically they have the same chance of Kai France getting KO or Moreno getting a submission. Yeah. neither one are really. I mean, the opposite isn't really too relevant. You know, the Brandon Moreno KO or the Kai France submission. They both can probably get a decision, but it's going to be more leaning towards Moreno. It's interesting to see that. I don't think a finish is going to happen for Car France because of how good the chin and the heart of Brandon Moreno is. He's fighting with all Mexico in his back and a granite chin. I mean, it's like you said, uphill swimming.
And it's kind of a hometown event, right? This is in Dallas, Texas. That's close to Mexico right there, man. So you know they're going to be all in favor of Moreno. Let's not forget, too, this doesn't really matter because it hasn't shown to matter in the past, but Kai France is 5'4". Let's not forget. You know, there's a pretty major height advantage for Brandon Moreno. So I like a decision prop for Brandon Moreno personally. I think Kai France is going to be very tough. I think there's going to be a back-and-forth matchup, and I do not think that we're going to see a 50-45. I think that we're going to see a very tightly contested matchup here. So I like the over, which, AJ, the over is 4.5 rounds here, and it looks like minus 155 for the over. So I'm taking the over on that one, and I'm rocking with the decision. What do you have here?
I can see the decision happening. That's what I've been debating the entire time over here, scratching my chin and whatnot. I'm actually going to go with the Brandon Moreno submission, that plus 400 submission. I think we're going to happen late round 3, early round 4. What'd you say the over-under was?
4.5.
4.5. I'm going to take the under at late round 3. I'm gonna take the under. Brandon Moreno submission.
Okay, that's fair. Both of us have. I mean, it can't really be Anu or Still. I guess it has to be Anu on either half. We're picking assassin, baby. Brandon Moreno. Come on, this dude is the champion. Once again, I encourage all of you guys to just rewatch that Fugitt Brandon Moreno number 3. Just rewatch it and just tell me what you think after. You know what I mean? Because I rewatched it and I was like, so how did Fugitt win this fight? And then Tapology, they had Brandon Moreno winning. And okay, that's neither here nor there. All right, AJ. That's 2 title fights in the bag right there. Now we got some heavyweights up next. Let's talk about it, man. Derrick the Black Beast Lewis versus Sergei Pavlovich. And this is an interesting one here, AJ, because we have to take notice that these odds are actually flipped now, which is interesting. So Derrick Lewis, this was at open when I caught these odds. Minus 120 for Lewis, plus 105 for Pavlovich. Now they have flipped. And it is currently minus 125 for Pavlovich, plus 105 for Derrick Lewis. So basically disregard these odds right here, folks, because Pavlovich seems to be the man who is in the driver's seat here. That's a question mark right there, AJ. Look at the TKO prop for Derrick Lewis, plus 125, right? Of course. A knockout for Derrick Lewis, the man has how many of them? He has 21 of them and 26 wins. All right, obviously. Sergei Pavlovich, 12 knockouts and 15 wins, but look at his knockout prop is plus 130, so it's almost on par with Derrick Lewis's. Decision prop, both of them long shot. Submission prop, both of them long shot. Why do you think Sergei Pavlovich is getting this much love after 2 UFC fights? One with Maurice Mo Green, right, and Shamil Abdurakhimov. 2 dudes who don't have the most illustrious track record in the heavyweight division. Why is Pavlovich getting this love against Derrick Lewis?
If I had to guess, and this is complete, like, just because other than this, I don't really know. Is the fact that Derrick Lewis is fighting in Texas. It's almost a hometown thing kind of for him. And then if we've seen anything in the past, Derrick Lewis has rough luck in Texas. But I don't know, man. Because as much as I don't get me wrong, I do like Pavlovich. Very slick jab, power right hand, wild in the chaos. He's going to have the reach advantage. There's these things we can talk about in Pavlovich, but it's all things Derrick Lewis has seen before and dealt with before, and not really doesn't give me concern when I think of Derrick Lewis in there. Now, the only thing that does give me concern is fighting inside of Texas. He's going to have all those extra nuances to the fight game. Like Uncle Chell says, hometown advantage is not a hometown advantage in the fight game. And maybe it's that. Other than that, I don't really see much. Do you, Derek? What do you think? Why are they giving him so much love on this one?
I think my thought process, my theory behind this is that Derrick Lewis has recently lost 2 of his last 5 fights, right? One loss to Tai Tuivasa, which was, that was a back and forth fight, man. Yeah, ultimately war of attrition. Tuivasa didn't get knocked out when Lewis landed the big blows, came back with the elbow, dropped Lewis, right? And then you have to ask yourself, was it a knockout or was it too tired? I think his eyes rolled back. I think it was a knockout for Lewis, but either way. And then you get outpointed by Cyril Gane. So you're starting to see, Black Beast is losing a little bit. Okay, well, maybe Pavlovich is the guy. I just don't know why Pavlovich specifically is the guy. You look at the last 5 of Derrick Lewis: Alexei Oleinik, Curtis Blades, Cyril Gane, Chris Daukaus, Tai Tuivasa. You look at the last 5 of Sergei Pavlovich, you don't know any of them except Overeem, right? So he did fight Overeem, and he did get knocked out by Overeem, which is not really a good sign. And then you also have Mogherin and then Shamil Abdurakhimov. So like I said, I just don't really understand why they're choosing this specific individual to be the guy to just like upset Derrick Lewis, because we solidified it. We said it's Francis Ngannou, it's Stipe Miocic, right? But let's disregard Stipe because he hasn't fought in a while. Francis Ngannou, Cyril Gane, Derrick Lewis. Those are the top 3 in the heavyweight division right now. If Curtis Blades, who was beating up Derrick Lewis, couldn't inevitably get the win on the board, he got knocked out by Derrick Lewis. I mean, Curtis Blades, bro. Sergei Pavlovich, he's going to come in just because he's 15-1, you know what I mean? He's going to come in and just starts Lewis. I don't know. I just don't see it, right? So talk to me, brother. What have you seen from the film study on Sergei Pavlovich? He has a monster right hand. He goes to the well with that right hand. In both of his UFC fights that he's won, he has basically spammed the right hand to win. If that right hand doesn't work, I mean, Derrick Lewis has a right hand and a left hook and an uppercut and a knee and all the things, man. Flying switch kicks and all that. So talk to me, brother. What stood out to you?
Man, the one thing, like you said, power right hand, obviously, but also a very slick jab. A lot of people didn't really see the jab whenever, the chaos is happening, the exchange is going down. He has this very slick, just like not necessarily a power jab, but it catches you. It catches you when you don't expect it. And that slick jab and him being wild in the chaos. So when the fight's going, the punches are being thrown. Pavlovich is crazy in there, man. He'll just start spamming stuff left and right, just going wild, leaving his chin up in the air. So it's a little concerning, but he has this kind of wild man mentality about him that he gets in there. And like I said, with that slick jab, power right hand, he can come across, he can hurt you, stun you with the jab, hurt you with the right cross, and then kind of get into some crazy shenanigans because he does like a brawl. That's the thing about this. He does like a brawl. And if anything, in the Tai Tuivasa fight, when the brawl started happening, Derrick Lewis kind of got the worst of it. Now, do I see that happening again? Not really. I mean, Derrick Lewis, I think he's going to come back. He's going to have, and what I like about Derrick Lewis in this fight, I was listening to his, obviously I love the X's and O's, the death touch, the explosiveness, the big jumps, all the stuff we were talking about before. But he's comfortable now, man. He was like, I trained with a new team, showing up to the gym early. He's cracking jokes. He's also giving compliments, man. He's in there. He's having fun. And I like that most about an athlete when they're in there and they're like, dude, fuck it. Like, I lost. I know I'm not the best, but I'm here to knock people out. I'm here to have a great time. Hey, man, you got my vote on that one. What about you?
I mean, he got Knockout King tatted on the chest for a reason, bro. I've been hearing these weird things on Twitter, man. People saying that unless Derrick Lewis can knock Pavlovich out, it should be easy sledding for Pavlovich, easy decision victory. And I'm just like, show me, like, when did Pavlovich become the guy? That's just my question, man. No disrespect to Sergei Pavlovich. He's a fun fighter. He's a fun fighter to watch. Dude got knockout power for sure. It's just, why are we disrespecting the Black Beast like that? That's all I'm gonna leave it at. So Derrick Lewis, in his last fight against Tai Tuivasa, he did shoot, man. So do you expect him shooting against Pavlovich here?
I think so, man. I think he's gonna throw some crazy jumping thing, get him up against the fence and shoot just to prove he can. I think it's one of those things. You get a guy who's a knockout artist on top of you, especially with the weight of Derrick Lewis. It's a very scary situation. And if we go back to the Pavlovich versus Overeem, Alexandre Overeem fight, we saw once he was hurt and on the ground, he just covered up. Yeah. Just I'm good. Don't worry about it. Like, I'm good. I'm good right here. I'm not going to do anything else. And that's how Overeem got the win. I see the same kind of thing happening if he does get to the ground right here.
The thing about Derrick Lewis is that it's always full of surprises, man. He's a jokester, man. So he's always cracking jokes, not really taking it too seriously. But when he gets in the cage, man, there's no playing around. You have to respect Derrick Lewis for having number 5 next to his name and just being like, I'll fight anybody. Like, I don't care. Like, at this point, just whatever. You know what I mean? And in Texas again, okay, whatever. I've been losing. I don't want to fight in Texas no more. And then you get another, hey, you want to fight in Texas? Fuck it, whatever. Why not? 50 G's, baby. Let's get it. So, listen, man, I think it's pretty plain, cut and dry, I guess I should say. The over and under on this fight is 1.5 rounds. And I'm taking the under. And I'm going Derrick Lewis, first round knockout. I'm going to call it simple as that, brother. How do you see this one playing out?
Derrick Lewis, first round knockout, man. It's pretty cut and dry, if you will. I think it's a black beast, brother. And as much as he is fighting in Texas, I think Texas, the great state of Texas, owes him one. Absolutely. I think he's going to get it on Saturday night.
And listen, no disrespect once again to Sergei Pavlovich. I do think he's very skilled. I just think that we're discounting Derrick Lewis for whatever reason. Now, if you can buy Derrick Lewis on discount in terms of wagers, you have to take that, right? Because how often are you seeing Derrick Lewis at, plus money? Like I said, on ESPN right now, plus 105. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, plus 125 for the TKO. I like it, right? Maybe it should be at minus money for both of these guys that somebody's getting knocked out. But, you take advantage when the odds makers kind of make some of these mistakes a little bit, right? So, Derrick Lewis for the win right there. Now, AJ, I had a tough time breaking down this fight. Alexandre Pantoja, number 4 in the flyweight division versus number 6 ranked Alex Perez. Minus 155 favorite is Pantoja, plus 135 comeback for Alex Perez. And actually, if I look at the live odds, man, the live odds have shifted heavily in favor of Pantoja. Minus 180 for Pantoja, plus 155 for Perez. So the prop odds, right? You got plus 125 for a decision for Perez, plus 135 for a decision for Pantoja. So if this fight goes to the distance, the odds makers think that Perez is a little bit favored. And if you look at the last couple of fights, Perez is coming off of a title shot, man. He fought Deuce de Guerra, and he actually was having success against Fugitt on the feet. Now, if that speaks for anything, that speaks for, oh shit, okay, you don't want to go toe-to-toe against this guy, so we got to mix it up. So what did Deuce de Guerra do? He said he got him in a weird spot, jumped to guillotine, finished him. Boom. If you look at the most finishes, or the methodology that Alex Perez has lost the most is via submission. 4 submission losses, 1 knockout loss, 1 decision loss. Pantoja, never been finished. 5 decision losses. And you saw what he did against Brandon Royval in his last fight, right, AJ? He went scramble city. He said, I'm tired, but I'm still going to land some right hands. He said, I'm tired, but we're still going to scramble, and I'm still going to get the rear naked choke and finish you because I can take your back at any given time because my jiu-jitsu is superior. My jiu-jitsu is the best. He has some of the best jiu-jitsu in the division. So how does this fight play out? Is he standing and trading and banging with Alex Perez, or is he saying, I'll let you throw the right hand just like he let Brandon Moreno do, or not Brandon Moreno, Brandon Royval do, right? I'm going to slip that right hand, I'm going to take your back, take you down, and then choke you out. How do you see it playing out?
I see it just like that, Derek. If you can out-grapple Brandon Royval, who's a very amazing grappler in his own right, man, you got some serious chops on the ground. And Pantoja, he's gritty, he's wiry, he's good in the transition, has high fight IQ. All these things that are going into it makes me feel comfortable, especially, what does it the most for me, gives me a little more comfort on the side of Pantoja, is he is continuously been doing this since, I don't know, I don't think he's had much of a break ever in all of his fight career. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. 2 fights in 2021, 2 fights was scheduled, 2 fights in 2020, 3 fights in 2020 or 19. He's just consistently doing it. Where you go against Alex Perez, hasn't fought in 2 years. Yeah, the last fight was against Fugitt, but if you look at it, a whole bunch of cancellations, a whole bunch of just unknowns that can go into Perez, and that's kind of a good and a bad thing. You don't really know how much this guy's been training. You don't know how, where his mental is, a little bit of ring rust, or has the chin evolved? Has the chin kind of had a little bit of time to grow, to solidify a little bit more? He likes to wrestle. He likes those lower changes and everything. All this stuff that leads to Alex Perez's pros kind of fall also into Pantoja's pros. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get a heavy wrestler, yeah, cool. Pantoja has all the moves to choke you out. So that's kind of where it scares me the most. But I do like the fact that Perez has very nice combos. But at that same point, man, Pantoja comes out hot, heavy strikes. So maybe those combos in the beginning really start to work for him. But I think if Pantoja gets dropped, Alex Perez, he's going to follow him in, and then we see a jiu-jitsu wrestling match, and I think the jiu-jitsu guy gets it on this one. What about you?
I mean, Pantoja has appeared to be superior in that same exact kind of game plan time after time after time. Look at his win against Manel Kape, right? Didn't really get into the jiu-jitsu too much, right? But he was able to just outpoint a very technical striker, Manel Kape, who did at the time have some volume issues, right? He wasn't really throwing the same way that we're accustomed to in Ryzen. Look at the way he knocked out Matt Schnell. That's important, right? Look at the way when he fought Deiveson Figueiredo, he didn't get finished by Figueiredo, right? But to touch back on what you were saying about Alex Perez and the cancellations, it looks like only 2 of these cancellations have been on behalf of Alex Perez. The first Matt Schnell fight, he withdrew from the fight. Then you look at the third time that him and Matt Schnell, or the fourth time him and Matt Schnell were matched up, he missed weight, right? You remember that? I remember that now. Oh yeah, he did miss weight. A couple fights against Askarov got injured, and then Askarov withdrew. So it's not like it's on behalf of Alex Perez, but I do kind of understand what you're saying when it comes down to just like, when you have all these cancellations, how hard can you be training? Being in this constant mode of being in training camp all the time, you know what I mean? Because the first canceled fight was in May of 2021. The last canceled fight was in It's this month. It was actually this month. It was supposed to be against Askarov, right? What is this? What month are we in? July? There we go. Sometime. You know what I mean? The calendar doesn't exist. I don't know. Yeah, July of 2022. So this is kind of the whole entire point, man. It's just constant flux, constant ebb and flow. But yeah, I see the fight more or less the way that you see it, which comes down to if Perez does have success on the feet, Pantoja does what he needs to do, walks forward. It doesn't matter. Walk forward. Go ahead, take me down. Just like the Brandon Moreno situation. Take me down, because if you take me down, that's where I'm going to have my success. I'm fly. I'm slick. I'm going to take the back. I'm going to choke you out. I'm going to submit you. However, plethora of ways. But don't forget, Pantoja does have bombs on the feet. You know, he has that right hand that connects heavily. I'm just worried here because Pantoja does have that wide stance. Alex Perez could chew up his legs the same way he did to Jussier Formiga. And who's to say, man? You chew up his legs bad enough, take away the mobility. So those are one of my two concerns. First concern, you get your legs chewed up if you're Pantoja. Second concern is we saw Pantoja gas against Royval in his last fight. And if Alex Perez can keep up that gas tank and he can keep it, you know, tough and dirty going in all 3 rounds, I think he can pull it off. So final question. Do you think that Alexandre Pantoja should be a minus 155 favorite? Should it be closer? Should it be larger? How do you feel about the money line odds here?
I actually like where it's at. I do think Pantoja isn't levels above. We're not talking 200-300, favorite on this one. I do think he's a little bit more. And the only thing I think about it is because of maybe recency bias. I just think Pantoja's been doing more, doing it often, doing it a little bit better. Because if in my mind, when I think Alex Perez, I have to really think about his fights. Like, oh, okay, who has he fought? It might be because of the last 2-year layoff. But in my mind, that's where it lies. Not a massive favorite, pretty close right there. I like where the odds are at. Do you think he should be just absolutely dominating him, or should it be close?
I think this is just going to be a closer fight than what the odds indicate. I think the odds are saying, yeah, Pantoja gets it done. But I think that Alex Perez has a real shot at an upset here. This was a very, very difficult fight for me to choose, especially because when I watched both of their film back to back, I'm just like, on one hand, I'm like, oh, Pantoja's going to do it. Then I'm like, oh, shit, but this Alex Perez dude is a beast, man. So it's just really tough. But let's talk about props, brother. So for Alexandre Pantoja, look at that submission prop, plus 600. That's a little surprising. It's a little juicy. It's a little enticing. It's like, ooh, you don't think that Alex Perez, who's been submitted 4 times, would get submitted? Huh? I don't know. But Alex Perez does have good jiu-jitsu too. I feel like we failed to mention that. Alex Perez has fucking legit jiu-jitsu. So maybe that's why the submission prop is so low on that one. I can see a decision, but then the further the fight goes, the more I favor Alex Perez, if that makes sense right here. So how about you go first while I make up my mind? The over and under on this fight, AJ, is 2.5 rounds, minus 140 for the over, plus 110 for the under. How do you like it? If Pantoja gets the job done, how do you see it getting done?
If Pantoja gets the job done, Derek, I'm going with the juicy submission pick, man. That's what I wrote it down earlier, literally 2 nights ago, whatever it was when I was writing this. Pantoja by submission just seems like it's going to happen. You know, we got the wrestler, we got the power wrestler coming in. He hurts him, maybe something happens, and then we see a scramble. I think Pantoja gets a submission. But you are correct if that's what you were inferring, where Alex Perez, the longer the fight goes, I do see Perez being more so towards the decision. But like I said, man, I'm going Pantoja. I'm going with the juicy submission, man. What about you?
You know what, man? When I look at the last 5 of Alexandre Pantoja and I see that he lost 2 via decision, one via decision, and then knocked out Matt Chanel and then submitted Brandon Royval. It's not like there's this major history of just nonstop submission. Actually, if you look at his last submission win prior to submitting Brandon Royval, it was in 2018. And that's quite some ways ago, brother. So I think I'm gonna play it smart, and I'm not gonna use recency bias, and I'm gonna rock with the decision. I'm gonna rock with the over for Alexandre Pantoja versus Alex Perez. I refuse to discredit the toughness of an Alex Perez. And I think Alexandre Pantoja can win the fight due to taking the fight to the ground and winning grappling exchanges and winning rounds that way. But if it stays on the feet, man, Alex Perez is primed for an upset here. I'm telling you. So I will eat my words if Alex Perez wins, but also I'm kind of hedging a little bit, as you can tell, folks. So, but, you know, bet wisely, folks. Bet wisely. All right, AJ, last one. The dark horse, Magomed Ankalaev. Number 4 in the division, fights Lionheart. Number 5 ranked Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith says, I don't know what you guys see about this Magomed guy who is so special. Like, how is he so much different than all the other guys that I've fought? How is he the next real legit guy? Now, don't get me wrong, and these are his words, right? More or less, summarized. He's like, don't get me wrong, this dude is really, really good at what he does. Very basic, very fundamental. But where's the pizzazz? There's no pizzazz. It just kind of is what it is, man. And I think that I'm going to take him to deep waters. And when he gets put in those uncomfortable situations, he doesn't thrive well. When everything is going his way, he makes almost no mistakes. But I'm going to take him to that chaos. And I'm like, oh, Anthony Smith, I like what you're saying, man. This is feeling good. I'm feeling like maybe Anthony Smith can get the job done. As massive underdog odds, plus 380, brother, with a minus 475 comeback for Magomed Ankalaev. It's almost hard to believe. But then you have to ask yourself this. Anthony Smith, when he fought, once again, I'm going to bring it back up, Jimmy Crute. Actually, I don't even think I brought this up on the stream. I brought this up on Twitch when I was streaming last night. He fought Jimmy Crute, right? And Jimmy Crute got the drop foot, right? Perineal nerve is just tore up. Can't use the leg anymore. What happened after he got the drop foot, AJ? He took Anthony Smith down 3 times on 1 foot. On 1 foot, he took him down 3 times. Alexandre Rakic destroyed him with the ground and pound. Glover Teixeira, even though Smith was winning in the beginning, Glover Teixeira ended up picking him apart with the ground and pound and with the takedowns. So this is my question: if Anthony Smith is great jiu-jitsu, but if he's not really there in the wrestling department, I think Magomed Ankalaev can do what he did to Nikita Krylov and win the fight. Technically smart, maybe not. He might not knock him out, but I think he could grapple and smartly strike his way. Sorry, folks. I don't know how to use words today. To a decision against Lionheart Smith, brother. Are you seeing what I'm saying? Or is Anthony Smith coming out and going to shut us all up?
No, I'm with you, my man. And the thing that does it for me, don't get me wrong, I do feel on these numbers, Anthony Smith, is being a little disrespected. Probably going to feel kind of a waste. He's going to come out with a chip on his shoulder. But if Magomed fights his normal fight, where he's composed, he's calculated, everything, like you said, very fundamental, keeps the pressure up, stays consistent through the entire fight, gets the takedowns, works the takedowns. I don't think he's going to finish him, but I do think that if he stays on top, the second you're the guy with your back on the mat, no matter how good you're throwing up anything, you got submissions, attempts, all this stuff, but the guy's stuffing them, the guy's a step ahead of you, and you're back on the mat, in the judge's eyes, you're losing. Doesn't matter what you think, oh man, I almost had him in XYZ, bro. Your back was on the ground. The judges think you're losing the fight. I do think, though, Anthony Smith, as the intellectual Anthony Smith, as the commentator, the broadcaster, the analyst, I think Anthony Smith knows that, and he knows I need to not be taken down. I need to not, even if I do, I need to not be on my back. I need to be working some stuff to get that ground and pound going. But Magomed is very, like I said, very calculated in this fight and in the way he does like to fight, man. And I think he's a little more dangerous on the ground, but his striking is also there. But I do think if this stays on the feet, the question goes to you, Derek, if this stays on the feet, who do you think gets the better of it? Me personally, I think Smith might have a little bit of advantage right there. What do you think?
I think Ankalaev is going to be a little less, he has less of a propensity to throw a lot of volume out there, but I do think he's a much more accurate striker than Anthony Smith is, and the numbers would indicate that as well. You look at about 3.5 significant strikes landed per minute at a 63% clip for Ankalaev. You have about 3 significant strikes landed per minute at a 50% clip for Anthony Smith. So Ankalaev is very basic. He's very fundamental, and when he throws, it's all precision. It's all right there to hit. It's never loading up knockout shots. Everything is kind of down the pipe, never out of position, really, right? So I think Ankalaev can start getting outstruck by Anthony Smith early on, but once it starts getting into his rhythm and starts flowing, once the late round 1, 2, 3, I think Ankalaev will pick it up with the striking, man, especially when it comes down to the ground and pound striking. I think he's very accurate and precise. He doesn't go crazy there, because when he did go crazy against Paul Craig, what happened? He got submitted, right? So Anthony Smith even mentioned that. He said that Magomed Ankalaev, he suffers when he gets out of position. When he starts to panic a little bit, that's when all of his effectiveness goes out the window. So that's what he's aiming to do. But if you aim to put yourself in a crazy scramble against Ankalaev, I just don't see that working out very well for you, even though Anthony Smith is so talented. Now, I do have to mention this, right? Anthony Smith has been knocked out 9 times, submitted 4 times in his career. Magomed Ankalaev has been submitted once, never knocked out, came close to being knocked out before. He's never lost a decision, right? Last 5 wins: Thiago Santos, Volkan Ozdemir, Nikita Krylov, and then 2 wins against Yeon Cutelaba. For Anthony Smith, you have a submission first round against Ryan Spann. You finished Jimmy Crute. It was really a doctor stoppage. You triangled Devin Clark in the first round. You lose to Alexandre Rakic, and you lose to Glover Teixeira. So clearly, Anthony Smith has a tougher strength of schedule in terms of champions, but then it kind of evens out because Ankalaev's last 3, Krylov, Ozdemir, and Santos. Okay, I guess this is the question. Do you count the Santos victory as much given the current state of a Thiago Santos?
I did at the time. Looking back on revisionist history, it does make it harder to really put a lot of emphasis on that one, man. I mean, and don't get me wrong, Santos always dangerous. And even, I mean, the Volkan Ozdemir fight, coming back off of Volkan's last fight, it kind of did age a little bit well. And same thing for Nikita Krylov. So those two kind of, when you taking a name value, you think like, not that big of a win, but actually you think about it, then it's like, well, those actually were pretty big wins. Thiago Santos is a little bit of the opposite, where the name value, you're like, damn, Santos. And you think about like, well, he's kind of been on a streak, he's kind of had all this. So I don't really count the Santos as much, but I put a lot of emphasis on those last two. Even the Yeon Cutelaba, both of the first round knockouts. Man, you think about it, you're like, man, I like Cutelaba's an animal. But that's Magomed's style, man. You come in crazy like that, you're right. And if Anthony Smith does the same thing where he comes in crazy like that, he's going to get finished. Yeah, I don't put too much stock on that Santos fight, though.
All right, brother. Before the last, talking about the wagers and all that, my last question to you is, if Ankalaev wins and he decisions Anthony Smith and it's not exciting, yeah, he's the dark horse. Yeah, he might get a title shot, but does anybody want to watch? Like, his fight against Santos was a snoozer. We have to be honest here. I love the man's fight style. I love the technical proficiency like the analyst eyes, but the like gory, I want blood fight, that we didn't see it. I want the knockouts, man. He had 8 knockouts. Where are these knockouts going? Show me some knockouts. So if he does, do you think that he'll even get that push by the UFC, given that he's a little more of a, I mean, he's kind of Khabib-esque. Khabib wasn't exciting for his fight style. He was exciting for his domination, which wasn't very exciting. So what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get the push, man. In fact, that's why I still think he's fighting these not lower tier fighters, but more fighters who he's expected to fight. He's taking the slow climb. He's taking the slow climb and things, going up a way where if you're tied to Avasa, you're knocking people out left and right. Guess what? You're fighting, for sure, number one, title contender up, or number one contender. That's what I'm trying to say. Number one contender fight. But I think if we see another snoozer from Magomed, as much as we like him on this podcast, we like him on the show, I don't think he's going to get the rub from the brass, man. I do think they're going to think like, well, okay, like we'll get you another fight. It's not going to be up, but we'll get you another one.
Yeah. No, fair assessment. So, all right, look at these props, bro. Plus 900 for TKO for Anthony Smith, plus 900 for a decision, and plus 1,600 for some. It's almost hard to believe. It's almost like, what am I reading right here? Let me make sure this is right. Here. Nope, that's right. Yeah, odds makers do not like Anthony Smith in this matchup. But for Ankalaev, plus 125 for a decision, plus 550 for a submission, and plus 160 for a TKO. So the odds makers basically say Ankalaev either knocks him out or he outpoints Anthony Smith. But this makes me feel like, I mean, there is a path to victory for Anthony Smith, right? Like these numbers are so juicy, you have to play one of them for a hedge. Just because, right? So which one would you hedge for Anthony Smith? TKO, submission, decision, or that plus 380 money line?
That plus 380 money line. I think that's the one. For some reason, man, in my mind, submission, it's just working. Maybe I'm on a submission kick because I think I picked in 2 of the other ones as well, but maybe just one other one. But that 1,600 kind of scares me a little bit. So that's why I'm going with that plus 380. If I'm hedging for Anthony Smith, I'm taking the money line. That's crazy though, man. 900, 1,600, and another 900 for decision. They are just hating on our boy at Lionheart, man.
They are, man. So and I get it, but I don't. You know what I mean? Like, I get it, but I don't. I'm a big fan of Ankalaev, but still, this is disrespect to the Lionheart. All right, man. So I like Magomed Ankalaev clearly in this matchup, and I think Anthony Smith is going to be a very tough outing. I do not think that he will finish Anthony Smith, so I'm going to rock once again with the decision. The over and under is 2.5 rounds, minus 140 for the over, plus 110 for the under. I like the over, and I like a decision for Magomed Ankalaev. What is the methodology of victory for Ankalaev against Anthony Smith, in your opinion?
Yeah, man, I'm going with the decision as well. Ankalaev decision. Lionheart's tough, man. Lionheart's real tough, and you got to be catching him on an off night, and I don't think he's going to have an off night on this one.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely with you here. But if he does play upset, that's why you just throw a couple dollars on that plus 380 Anthony Smith money line. And actually, now I'm looking at the live odds, minus 550 for Ankalaev, plus 400 for Anthony Smith. So maybe the later that you wait before fight night, man, the juicier the odds are going to get, and you're just going to have to take it right there. But folks, that is your main card for UFC 277. We got title matches. We broke down 2 of them. We got high stakes matchups, and literally every single fighter on the main card is ranked. So, AJ, with that being said, really quickly, brother, just super quickly, let's just take a quick jump into a prelim pour-over and talk about a couple of these fights very quickly. Like I said, brief, just breaking it down, right? We got Nick Negamedianu versus Ihor Potieria. Sorry, butchered your name, brother. But once you get a little more love in the UFC, we'll know how to pronounce your name. Listen, you got a knockout artist versus another knockout artist. You got a dude who can wrestle a little bit versus a dude who can just take your face off. I like Nick Negamedianu in this fight personally, brother, but I do think it's interesting that they're bringing these kind of newcomers on to the scene just to be like, oh, you got some good knockouts? All right, well, here's your UFC debut against killers. What do you think about this matchup?
I almost made this one my sleeper, Derek. Nick Negamedianu has been showing up and putting some serious work in. And then Potieria, man, I was watching a couple of his fights. This dude is a savage. Dude is a savage. He can get things done. I like Negamedianu in this fight. I think he's going to be the better wrestler. But at the same point, man, Potieria can also wrestle very, very well too, man. Like I said, almost made this one my sleeper. It's going to be a fun fight.
Another one you got to look out for is Orion Koshi versus Blood Diamond, brother. So obviously you got Blood Diamond under the tutelage of the City Kickboxing. You got Israel Adesanya rooting for him and all that good stuff. You got the hype, right? Cool. Dude can't really wrestle to save his life, but he can knock you the hell out. That's for sure. Now Koshi in his first fight against Phil Rowe, right? He kind of death gassed, and he had a great output, and then he just gassed himself, and that's the worst place you want to be in. So I think the odds for him should be actually a lot higher. It's currently a minus 160 favorite for him, plus 140 for Blood Diamond, and I think it would be like minus 400 if he didn't death gas in that first fight. I think Koshi gets the job done here. Great grappling situation, but what do you think, man? They're kind of throwing Blood Diamond to the wolves still, and he had a rough first performance too, man. But I like Koshi in this one, unless Blood Diamond shows some sort of defense or some sort of grappling that he's accrued at City Kickboxing at a kickboxing based camp. It's going to be rough for him to go in this fight, man. Absolutely, yeah. He got choked out by Jeremiah Wells in his first fight, man. So yeah, not looking too hot. But for Orion Koshi, one more time, let's look at his first loss. Yeah, Phil Rowe. So boom, he had a big win. Matt Dixon in his Contender Series debut. Speaking of that, Contender Series is back. I don't know if you watched, right? But Joe Pyfer, he was on 2020 Contender Series. Finally got a contract, man. Other fights were some snoozers. Anyways, Dontel Mays versus Hamdy Abdelwahab. This is gonna be a fun fight because Dontel Mays, right? Good, long, lanky striker. He's been showcasing some of his grappling a little bit. And then you got Abdelwahab, who is I believe, a Egyptian, like Olympic wrestler or something like that, man. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, but I think that Dontel Mays is going to reign supreme in this one, personally, my man. Do you know anything about Abdelwahab?
There's a lot of heat for Abdelwahab because a lot of fighters are calling him a fake fighter. One of those ones where we don't really know his record. He's knocking out dudes who are 0-0. There's a lot of he's catching a lot of flack on Twitter and a lot of places saying this dude doesn't belong here. Why is he fighting on the one of the upper prelim fights too, ahead of Drakkar, Klose, Rafa, Garcia? Which is crazy to me, man.
It's funny you say that because I don't know if you guys all recall, at least for the good folks at home, Askar Malsarov, right? Who fought, who was it? Was it Phil Hawes? Who was it? It was one of those guys, and he ended up getting beat up pretty bad, right? But basically, I think it was Phil Hawes. I could be mistaken. Either way, Askar Malsarov, he started off, his original record was like 25-7, right? Now, after all they actually did a whole entire review into it. They really studied it. His record now is like 14-15. So it's like, you shouldn't play these games. You play those games, you play stupid games, and you get hurt. You know what I'm saying? This is not the place to play these games. But you're right. I'm glad you brought that up. Now, Drakkar Klose versus Rafa Garcia. Let's talk about that one, man. The odds makers think Rafa Garcia has a chance to win, but they think Drakkar Klose really is going to get the job done. Now, I would not discount Rafa Garcia personally in this matchup, but Drakkar Klose is the real deal, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, you got shoved by Jeremy Stephens. Your neck got banged up a little bit, right? So he took a little bit of a downturn from that, but I like the matchup, man. I do think Rafa Garcia can win, but I do like Drakkar Klose in this one. How do you see it?
I really like this fight, man. This is going to be a very interesting one. I kind of like Rafa a little bit more, and maybe because I like Garcia as just a fan. Yeah. The dude comes to bang, man. He's here. He's going to put up. But Drakkar Klose, I think he really needs this fight to solidify that he is not only just a real fighter, but like a dog. You know what I'm saying? You get shoved, you get injured. Everybody kind of has a little feelings about you. I think he needs this one to prove that he's an actual dog in there, which he is. Don't get me wrong. Klose is a scrapper. it's going to be a very fun fight.
Absolutely. And it looks like minus 220 for Drakkar Klose, plus 190 comeback for Rafa Garcia. And then lastly, we already mentioned Alex Morono versus Matt Semelsberger. That's going to be a fun fight. I feel like someone's going to get knocked out or choked out. That's really the only two options in that fight. But Jocelyn Edwards versus Yeon Kim. Fire Fist Yeon Kim has been on the wrong end of a few decisions as of late. And this is one where Jocelyn Edwards is getting criticized because in her last fight, people were just kind of criticizing her, saying, yeah, you're boring, you know what I mean? You're fighting out these decisions. You're not really showing much. You're going to have to show it against Yeon Kim because she brings it, man. Plus 105 underdog is Yeon Kim, minus 125 for Edwards. I kind of like Yeon Kim to edge out a decision here. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I like Yeon Kim in this fight as well, man. Even though I'm pretty sure she's going to have a pretty significant height differential. What is it? 5'8"? No, man, not so much. And I think she actually has the reach advantage.
Yeah, bro.
Interesting, 72 to 70. Wow. Whenever I think Yeon Kim, I thought a smaller fighter. And when I think Jocelyn Edwards, I think the taller fighter for whatever reason. But no, it's going to be a little bit different than that. I like Yeon Kim even more now.
Well, Yeon Kim is an inch shorter for sure, right? 5'7", 5'8", right? When we're looking at reach, 70 inches for Jocelyn Edwards. And yeah, 72 for Yeon Kim is a long, lanky fighter, man. She's good. She's good, man. Good fighter out of South Korea, Fire Fist. And that's basically all you need to know for your prelim pour-over, folks. So with that being said, follow us on TikTok at the Bloody Water Podcast. Follow us on Twitch, man. Give both of us a follow, and you can subscribe over to my channel as well. So twitch.tv/Santa Fe Bomber, twitch.tv/TapNap or Snap. Shout out to the Bear Jew, Paul Craig. And lastly, folks, just share the show. Like this video, share it with your friends, hit subscribe on YouTube. And I know we're giving you a million different places to plug and all this stuff, right? But the hub is bloodywaterpodcast.com. That's where you can find everything. Or you can give us personally a follow on Twitter, right? AJ, you Santa Fe Bomber across the board. So wherever it goes, all the links will be in the description below. For me, D496_, that's a little too much. Just go to the description and you'll find all that stuff. But you get live, in-time, real-time commentary on Twitter. So go to Twitch for the streaming. We explained it earlier. We're going to be doing all the breakdowns and all that good stuff, gaming, all the fun stuff. And then that's why you come here for the professional, thought-out, analytical aspect of it, right? Not the raw takes and the raw nonsense that we can tend to spew sometimes. AJ, you got any last words for the people?
Nah, man, biggest thing, make sure you share with your friends. Derek already said it, man. The plugs are going to be down below. Biggest thing that helps us out, man, hit us up with that algorithm. Yeah. Like, share, subscribe, all this stuff. And check us out, man. Twitch, it's a lot of fun. And it's nice because you do get to comment. You get a little bit of interaction. You get something a little bit different. It's a fun time all the time over here. Whether you're going to be, like I said, whether you're on the Twitch, whether you're hitting us up in the YouTube comments, whatever the case may be, we're winning y'all some money. We haven't said it yet, but we've said it before, man. Your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. Tune in, get yourself some money, get yourself paid, and let us know what you did in the comments down below.
That's just about right, folks. So you know what time it is. BloodyWaterPodcast.com once again. That's it for us. Until next time, folks. Peace.